So here it is, 2018, and I haven't done my HHN 27 final review yet. People are talking.
Oh, he's not normal at all. And he's dumb. Yeah, and his pecker don't work either.
Hit the button. Let's get started. Hey there, hi there, ho there, Andrew here, the horror host of Generation X, Y, and Z inside Davis Manor, and I am going to give you a final judgment review on Halloween Horror Nights number 27 in Orlando. The final? Anyways, this is part 2, and if you haven't seen part 1, which was done, I don't know, a long time ago, let me pause for shameless promotion. See, the part 1 is all about my overall experience at Halloween Horror Nights and the scare zones as well. So if you want to catch up on that, go ahead. Right now, we are going to be talking about the houses and how I'm going to rank them here. And while I'm talking about this, or I should say before I talk about this, if you have not subscribed yet, that's right. Remember to subscribe, like maybe right now while you can go ahead and do that. But if you want to hear more about Halloween Horror Nights, its history, the icons, my life as a scare actor, plus anything that is horror related, whether it be movies and whatnot, games, things like that, all you have to do is tap that subscribe button and then also tap the bell icon. That way you get notified the moment that I upload. I will say this, I was more excited and impressed with the houses. This probably because I had such a bad night my first week. Again, check out the link of the first part if you haven't seen it yet. Let's get into the countdown and review, starting with number 9 on the list. That is The Horrors of Blumhouse. Now, in all fairness, I didn't see this house. So how do you put it on your list? Well, it goes at the bottom of the list because I didn't see it. I really wanted to see the house, though. And I wanted to see the house because of Sinister more than anything else, because the other properties I've already seen as houses. I didn't really need to see them. And then I heard from my sources that Sinister was a very small portion of the house because it really focused on Insidious. So I decided to skip the house. Side note, if you're wondering why The Purge was in there, well, my sources have told me this. It was originally supposed to be Ouija. You know, the Blumhouse movie Ouija that's based off of the board game. Is it a board game? Anyways, it was nixed. Why? Because Hasbro. Yes, Hasbro. See, Hasbro now owns the rights to Ouija, which was, I think, either Parker Brothers or Milton Bradley. I don't know, whatever it was. Hasbro bought them out, so they own the property. Well, why would Hasbro have such an influence over what goes in Halloween Horror Nights? The answer is Transformers. Hasbro owns Transformers, and they didn't want their brand to look bad at all, which is a bunch of bunk, because if you look at the box that the Ouija board comes in now, kind of gives a bad vibe. Let's move on to number 8, and that spot goes to Saw, the Games of Jigsaw. And again, I didn't see this house either. I didn't want to see it, normally because every time I went to the entrance, there was an 80-minute wait. 80 minutes? I am not going to wait at all. I'm not going to wait for any house that's 80 minutes and over. So I missed this house, mostly due to the fact that the lines were too long. And I would have to say that the lines were too long. Probably two things here. It was either because the movie was out and it was pretty fresh on everybody's mind, or it was the first house right at the entrance, so everybody kept on going. Either way, I didn't go. The number 7 spot goes to American Horror Story, and I've never seen this franchise in its entirety, so I have no idea what's going on. And the scares were minimum, except for Bloodyface. He was all over the place. And I did get sprayed a couple times with water, which is supposed to be blood, and I can thank my friend Paul for that, because one of the times we're going through the Asylum, and it's in the surgeon area where, you know, he's making lunch meat out of this one lady's leg. And he goes, oh, look, there's a hidden Mickey on the tools. Yeah. Why would there be a hidden Mickey in a Universal haunted house? I don't know. But me going, why would there be a hidden Mickey? And I lean over and psst. Yeah. I will have my revenge. When? I don't know. but I will. Otherwise, it was visually appealing, but not as strong as last year's American Horror Story, in my opinion. The actors in the house felt like they were distractions and not really main scares. The woman with her eyes all burned out, she's screaming, she felt like a decoy for a scare, which never showed up. And then the Santa that was in the asylum, he felt like a decoy to a scare that never showed up. And then Delphine, I think that's her name, Delphine that was in the coven in the hell scene, she felt like a decoy, but she worked that fan really good. And she is supposed to be, I think, a decoy for Papa Legba. But Papa Legba never came out, like, for a big scare. He wasn't scary at all. And the cricket, sorry, I hit puberty there. And the cricket prop, man, well, apparently that was broken because he's just a static prop. He's just standing there, and you hear the soundtrack, or not soundtrack, but you hear a vocal of, which sounded like he had to go to the bathroom instead of getting disemboweled. There was a hole right in his chest. I guess the guts weren't working or something. I mean, where was the disembowelment? It wasn't there. It felt like the scare actors that were in that house were kind of paraded out to be seen more than being scary. And hitting the number 6 mark for me was Ash vs. Evil Dead. And yes, I have gone through the house on this one. However, just like American Horror Story, I have never seen the show Ash vs. Evil Dead. And why is that? Because I don't have stars. I mean, I have seen the Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, and even the Evil Dead reboot, which has nothing to do with this at all. I did go through all the sets. I enjoyed them, but I had no idea what was going on because I didn't see the show. I did like that there were a lot of ashes there, and the scare actors weren't wearing masks. They lip-synced exactly to Bruce Campbell's voice, did a great job. It wasn't really that much of a scare house, though. It was more of a fun house to me. And number 5 is the Hive. And I didn't do that because it rhymed. It just happened that way. And I gotta say, I'm disappointed and entertained at the same time on this house. The entertained side of things, the scare actors did an awesome job. I mean, even when they weren't getting a scare, they didn't skidoo, which is a boo and skidoo show direction. You go out there, you scare, and then you go back into your hiding spot. They didn't. They stayed right out there, which actually was very refreshing for me because it was kind of like you were in a den of vampires. I mean, they were posing. They were threatening. It was nice. I liked it. It didn't scare me, but I liked it. And I have to give a big shout out to Glutton. I don't know if that's my Glutton, but Glutton, you made the visit so worth it. Thank you very much. Some of the disappointments for this house was that it felt exactly like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house. I mean, there was a boo hole that was the same boo hole from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Which one I'm talking about is there's a vampire that popped out and he had a black light shine on him and his contacts lit up. It was a very cool effect, though I would have probably liked to have that light focused a little bit more. But it was the same boo hole and scare as the hitchhiker had in the chicken room that was in the very beginning of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house. And also, Leatherface's burlap doll was in there, which was okay because Halloween Horror Nights goes ahead and reuses props, and I think that's pretty cool. I mean, Jason's mother's severed head was in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house. So, there you go. But one thing that really burned me on this one, and it might just be me personally, and that is the entrance of the house was the exit of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Exactly. Same egress, same areas where the scare actors pass through, same area where the drape comes down. I know all of this because I stared at that exit all night long as Leatherface at the end of the house. So I picked up on it right away. Number 4 was The Fallen, and it could have been number 3 on my list if it wasn't for one thing, and that was I couldn't see anything in this house. It was so dark. I know that there were some cool things in this house. It just looked like it was cool. I mean, in the realm of the set, and then also the scare actors, the outfits that they had looked kind of cool. I mean, I couldn't tell really. There was no lighting. I mean, it was a little annoying. I will say this though. Am I going in and out and focusing there, zooming up? My camera's possessed. There were a couple of guys that I know from Halloween Horror Nights, scare actors that I've worked with. They spotted me and they made my experience a lot more enjoyable in that. Thank you very much for doing that. I wanted to see the most in this house was the flying gag scene, and the timing just wasn't there. So I never saw it. Did see this actor resetting to do the scare again, but you can't just go, all right, do it now. It doesn't work that way. I did see the bungee actor, though, and that was pretty cool. Third place goes to The Shining, and this house was what I wanted to see the most, and to be honest, this house was a visual blast for me. I mean, I really enjoyed basically everything about this house. I mean, even the elevator scene, which I didn't think that they were going to be able to do, but somehow Universal Creative pulled it off just the way that they do. They did a bang-up job, and to be honest, I wasn't disappointed. The scares, though, mediocre at best. The group that I was with, and when I say the group that I was with, I really mean the people that were in front and behind, because my group really didn't get scared. The other people were only getting scared whenever Jack would come out looking for Danny on the sides, which is a good peripheral scare. Otherwise, it was really about the set pieces and really soaking in the atmosphere. And speaking of soaking up the atmosphere, the number 2 spot goes to Dead Waters. What a visual masterpiece! This one, I have to say, I might have just had bad timing on. I walked through that whole house. My group even got separated, so not all of us were there. There was a big gap, and it might have been due to the fact that they might have been having a cast change, and I just might have been stuck in there with the crew. But there was like 3 scare actors that came out, and the Voodoo Queen, I mean, she's always out. She doesn't have an area that she was hid in. But I know that there were a lot more scare actors in the house, but I didn't really mind so much. I mean, I didn't get scared, and that's not a big problem for me because I usually don't get scared. I actually haven't gotten scared in quite some time. But I just looked around in amazement. And the top house, in my opinion, which I also believe got House of the Year, goes to Scarecrow the Reaping. Holy crow, this house is good. And no pun intended on that when I say that. This house was designed for scares. They planned this thing out perfectly. It had the right claustrophobic feel in some areas. Everything was really tight, corners-wise. The scares were up on the peripherals, which are really good because you can't exactly see what's coming in on you, but you do see something that's coming in on you. And I could tell that the scare actors there, man, they were there for the scare. I mean, how do I know that? They were thumping and stomping their feet as they came out, swinging out at people, which, by the way, is not a something that show direction wants you to do. They frown on that because if you stomp on your foot for 45 minutes, you're going to hurt your foot by the end of the day. And then you're not going to be around. Or you might blow out your knee or some other type of thing. But lastly, in this house, there was a spot. It's kind of like a hairpin turn. And it's an area where there's a whole bunch of crows that are perched up above you. And they're just calling. The speakers are blaring out at you. And you hear all these crows calling at you. And then they poop on you. Yes, they poop on you. Right in the back of my neck as I was going by. That was hilarious. I really thought that was great. And mark that as the only time I think I will ever say online that I enjoyed getting pooped on. So you agree with me or disagree with me? Go ahead, leave a comment down below. And remember, like, share, subscribe, plus hit that bell icon so you get notified the moment that I upload. And I will see you in the next video.